Retro Rob plays everything.
Hello there gamers, Rob here, and today I'm going to show you something I've been trying to get in for a long time. This is the first of the Flashback consoles. And before I go any further, let me tell you, this is probably the fakest thing I will ever have on this show. Now, it's not to say that there's anything particularly wrong with it, but this has nothing to do with Atari. The games are actually like NES remakes, so this isn't even Atari emulation. Yeah. Pretty weird. Anyway, let's just get started on it. Here, my friends, is the front of the box. Atari Flashback Classic Game Console. 20 Atari games built right in, includes the never before released Saboteur. It's all right here, retro style game console. 2 Atari 7800 inspired joysticks. 20 classic Atari games built right in. Play right away, plugs into your TV. This is the left side of the box. This is the right side of the box. The top of the box. The bottom of the box. Here's the back of the box. Lists a bunch of the games. Wait, lists all the games, because there's 20. The games that defined a generation. Flashback to the 80s. Leg warmers are on, shirt collars are up, hair is big, and the Atari craze is everywhere. Relive the Atari revolution with the Atari Flashback Classic Game Console. You can play 20 of the most popular video games of the 80s, groundbreaking back then, and addictive as ever right now. Bounce off the walls and break out, shoot through the chaos of Centipede. Hit hyperspace just at the right time in asteroids. Do it all again with legendary games that set the standard for the future of video games. Includes 1 Atari Flashback Classic Game Console with 20 games, 2 joystick controllers, 1 power supply, 1 AV cable. Atari Flashback Classic Game Console. Let's open this thing. Oh yeah. Alright, so this is used. I could not find it new, at least not at a reasonable price. So let's take this plastic cover off and take a look at what's inside. Let's go with the manual first, which I know is hidden under here. Alright, here we have the Atari Flashback manual. Note that it has full instructions for every game. Well, instructions for every game anyway, and I think that that is a really nice thing. I wish that trend would have stayed. It just makes the game system a lot more enjoyable. Bunch of stuff about connecting it, not a big deal, but it really is nice that, look, you've got the instructions for the games. Really sweet. All right, let's look at this. You don't get these anymore. We've got a list of Atari games. They were making quite a bit back then, but not anything real amazing. Nice to see some new PlayStation 2 games. Zoids. Beyblade. Of course, they're well known for Roller Coaster Tycoon now. What are they up to? Roller Coaster Tycoon like 12 or something? And there we go. There's the leaflet. All right, let's talk cables. Here are the video cables. These are not the original ones, so I'm not going to comment on them. This one's about 6 feet long. I do not know what it originally had, but this is definitely not it because it only has 1 channel output, and there are 2 channels for audio output here, plus a video. So it only has 1 audio and 1 video, which it should. I mean, the Atari was not a stereo device. All right, next cable, we've got the power supply cable. This is the original one. It looks pretty nice. It's not super thick or anything, but it feels durable, and I think it will hold up to the test of time. Not bad. Next, we're gonna look at the console itself. Atari Flashback Classic Game Console looks very loosely like an Atari 7800. Power button, reset button. Looking at the front, we have 2 9-pin joystick ports. I believe they are compatible with the original sticks. I will test that.
Statement incorrect.
Right side, back side, audio, video, and of course the 9-volt input. Looking at the bottom, you do have some nice rubber feet. Thank you very much, so it doesn't slide all over the place. It's called the Mini 7800. Nice. All right, I'm not going to compare this to the original 7800 because it varies quite a bit from it and doesn't even really look like one, but the joysticks I'll definitely compare to the originals. Looking right here, this is the little Mini 7800 joystick. Has a pause and a select button, has 2 buttons. I'm going to assume they'll fire independently because it does have some 7800 based games on here. It's not bad. It feels pretty good. In fact, it feels a little bit more comfortable than the original joystick. The original joystick right here, as you can see, it's a lot smaller and a lot easier to deal with in the hand. This was a very stiff controller and your hand would wear out over time. I think this one would probably do quite a bit better than the original, but we'll see. All right, I suppose you guys really came here to see the games, so let's get them going. I'm testing this joystick now on my Atari 7800, and I got nothing. There is absolutely nothing working with this controller, so my assumption was wrong. This apparently does not actually work with a real Atari. Bummer. All right, here we go. We're on the main menu of the Atari Flashback. If I select absolutely no cartridge in the stack of cartridges that it shows, I get a little description of the Atari 7800. How nice. Let's go on to a game. All right, so here we are with Adventure, the original game. It's pretty clearly a little bit different. Number one, the color seems a little bit off. The yellows seem very bright next to the original one. I mean, this is the same monitor I always play it on, at least when I get a chance to play it. And it seems a little bit off to me. Also, the controls are a little bit creaky. They're not terrible. I mean, there's nothing super wrong with this. But, oh, hey, where'd my key go? I forgot my key. But it's not right. There's something just not right. Oh, yeah, I'm going to end up backed up there. See, that's what happens if I'm talking and, like, think about it a little bit. Make a mess out of things. And don't do that. Go back here, get the key. There's one more thing I want to show you about this. I should have grabbed the it's alright. Should have grabbed this sword and killed him. But you know, I already killed one. Isn't that enough? Isn't one dead dragon enough? Alright, so let's go get the chalice. This is going to be the longest part of the video right here. It's something else. And there we go. No, don't do that. Get in here. Get your chalice. I'm pretty sure I can shortcut through here, as I recall. I mean, the game looks really close. The mazes appear to be the same. But, here, I'll show you this. It doesn't seem quite right, does it? Not perfect. Let's go on to the next game. Air Sea Battle. It's got about 20 games in it, or different ones. It's fun enough. I don't remember whether this is right or not. I could have swore that you controlled it by going left and right with the joystick as opposed to up and down like you do here. But I could be wrong about that. Let me know in the comments down below. It plays good enough. Looks nice. It's kind of fun. Be great with 2 players. Before I leave this, I should also comment that you have to play this with the right joystick, and it's the left joystick that you go through the menu with. So that's kind of weird. Just saying. And here we have Asteroids, which is modeled after the Atari 7800 version, not the Atari 2600 version, which you may be more familiar with. The controls feel different, to be honest, from the original one. I don't know, maybe it's just memory. We'll see. It looks nice enough. It's not terrible or anything. Both buttons appear to do the same thing. It's alright. It's not great, but not terrible. Just for fun, I'm going to play a little bit of the original Atari 7800 Asteroids. I'm going to tell you right now, it is a lot better. It's a lot smoother. It plays a lot smoother than the one on the Flashback 7800. And as you can see, the other thing is my second button works and I can teleport with it, which is really useful. Yeah, a lot smoother. The real one's a lot better game, to be honest. Alright, here we have Battle Zone, and this is probably one of the really good examples of how these games differ. I think probably you saw that quite a bit in Adventure 2, where that kind of glitching effect that the Atari 2600 can do, the NES really can't do that, so you get kind of the simulated Atari effect, which it doesn't really do very successfully. So you can really tell that this is not the real thing. And I'll run through this a little bit. Oh, this is really rough to play next to the Atari one too. But I'll run through this a little bit, just side by side with the real Atari game. I'm not going to do that very often, but with this game, I think it is just so pronounced that I think you can really get a feel for the differences between these. Alright, so here we have Breakout. It's not a terrible implementation of Breakout, however, it controls with a joystick, whereas the original, of course, used the Pong controller, which was a much better way to control this. That said, this isn't a terrible implementation, and I have seen some terrible, terrible joystick implementations of this in the past. It just doesn't feel as good as the original. Not a bad game, not horrible or anything, just not as great as the original. That's all. If you recall, I've actually played Canyon Bomber on this station recently, and I guess this is it, but the colors seem off, and it doesn't seem as deep as the original one. I don't know. It might not be terrible. The other thing is, I recall the computer being a heck of a lot harder. In fact, I know it was, because at no time during the video I did of this game was I ahead of the computer. And I've been ahead most of the game. Now I'm a little bit behind, but still, yeah, that was kind of an impossibility. The computer was really hard in the original one, and it appears that it has been dumbed down, which is crazy considering there's a lot more processing power being thrown at this game than there was on the Atari 2600. Don't know what's up with that. Let's go on to the next game. And here we have Centipede. Not a terrible adaptation of Centipede. Not 100% true to the Atari original, but, you know, it's a decent game of Centipede. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's just kind of pedestrian. I recall playing this in the arcades quite a bit. I was never really good at it, so it's nice to see I can at least make it past the first level on this. Woot. Here we are with Crystal Castles, and is it just me, or does this feel a whole lot clunkier than the original? Oh, it is so much clunkier. That is just crazy. The controls are insane on this. I'm not kidding. It is really hard to control the bear. It really feels off. Man. Yeah, this is... No, not good. It really... I'm fighting these controls. The original wasn't that great, but this... Oh, this is so much harder than the original. Yeah, not real good. Never was a great version of Crystal Castles, and it's definitely not better here. Alright, so here we have Desert Falcon, which is kind of Atari's answer to Zaxxon. Boy, I don't have the 7800 version of this, but I'm almost sure it's smoother than this and less flickery. The Atari 7800 wasn't a terribly flickery machine, and it wasn't... It did arcade games pretty well, and this just feels... It feels really bad. I don't really like this game at all in this form. So I'm going to just quit playing it. I don't say that really often, but geez. Yeah, this is not my thing. And here is Food Fight, which apparently they cared a little bit more about because it at least plays smooth. This doesn't look like the Atari 7800 version I remember, but at the very least, it's pretty fun to play. I enjoy it. It's not bad. This is nice. Yeah, I can play this for a while and not be sick. Yeah, there we go. Get him! Get him! It's a lot more flickery, though. Real flickery. Oh, I'm dead. Aw. Alright, so here we have Gravatar, and Gravatar suffers from what a lot of these games suffer from, which is they just don't feel like they're controlling right. They feel very jumpy. They feel just, it's hard to control everything. I have been hard-pressed to land this at all in this game, and it's not like it's that hard. I mean, not on the real console. It's not that hard. This is just really kind of a mess. It plays really rough, guys. That's all I can say. It's not... Oh, no. No! Ugh. Not fun. Alright, so here we have Haunted House. I never played this when I was a kid. I had a friend who really loved this game and used to play it all the time, but I just don't know the game well enough to make a judgment. I'll walk around a little bit. I do know that, like, when I fire off this light, I can find hidden objects. But anyway, I'll walk around a little bit, let you judge for yourself. Assuming that it's like the other games, I'm going to guess that there's some differences. Oh, there you are. And that is it for Haunted House. Sorry about this one. Just not an expert in it. Alright, so here we have Millipede, which is the sequel to Centipede. They went with the Atari 2600 version, or a conversion of the Atari 2600 version here, as opposed to the 7800 version, which is why it looks a little worse. That said, it does play fine. The controls seem good. It doesn't have that jumpiness that some of the other games do. It's okay. I mean, it's not... I was never a real big fan of the conversions of these games on the 2600, so I'm not a huge fan of this, but honestly, it doesn't play too bad. And here we have Planet Smashers, which is, you know, okay. Not terrible or anything. Looks like the CGA version, doesn't it? It's playable. It's smooth. I have not played the original Planet Smashers, so I cannot speak to its authenticity, but this is an okay game. This is one of the better to actually play games on this flashback system. Works just fine. No real complaints. Alright, so here we have Saboteur, which is a pretty competent shooter and plays pretty well on this system. It's really not bad at all. It's fun. Now, my understanding is that this really isn't an unreleased game. It's really just basically a homebrew. But at least it's fun. I like it. Not bad at all. And the controls work, and it's not jumpy. Let's give it some points for that. Die. Oh, I died. Oh. Alright, here we have Atari 2600 Skydiver, and the basic idea is to get your Skydiver on the pad while bracing the wind. Here's one of the things I've noticed about this game. It does not appear to take wind into account as much as the original did. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just remembering it not 100% correctly. I haven't played this game in a really long time, but it does seem like it doesn't take it into account as much. Just saying. Otherwise, it looks okay, and it seems to play okay other than that. Alright, so here is Solaris. Let's go shoot some stuff, shall we? Yeah, my opinion of this is not so great. I don't think it's that far off of the original, but I just never really liked the original that much, so I kind of wonder why they chose this one when there was a lot of really great Atari classics out there. That said, I know there's some real big fans of this game, but just not really my thing. Let's go on to the next game. Alright, and here we have Sprint Master, which is an interesting choice because I don't think a lot of people played it. Maybe this is what they were going for, but this was kind of released later on in the Atari 2600's life, and I never really got to play it on the real hardware. That said, if you are interested in this little racing game, which has multiple tracks and has pickups, which I think is interesting, I'm going to be doing an unboxing of an actual boxed copy of this game and playing it a little bit for Sorry Atari, so that is coming up. Not terrible so far. And here we have Warlords, yet again, modified so that you can play it with a joystick. That said, I actually like this version much better than the one that is on the Flashback Blast, and that's because it doesn't completely suck. It's not bad, it's competent. They obviously liked this game and spent a little bit more time getting this one to feel right, and it does feel really good, even with the joystick controls. It really is not a bad version of the game. Seriously, it's kind of fun. Not perfect, it's not the Atari 2600 original at all, but it's really not bad. One more left. Ha! Got him. Alright, here we go with Yar's Revenge for the Atari 2600. And it looks significantly different from the original version of this game. It's not terrible or anything, but it just doesn't look right. You know what I mean? That said, the controls work pretty well. It's not a terrible version of it by any means, but again, not perfect. Let's wrap this up. So what is the verdict on the Atari Flashback OG? Well, I like the hardware quite a bit. This controller works really well once you get used to it. Yes, it's a little bit creaky, but it's really not bad. Also, the console itself looks really nice. It feels high quality, and it's really okay. I heard that this thing was developed in about 6 weeks as a rush for Christmas, and it shows really in the games. This is not an emulator box, and this is not an Atari 2600 with a bunch of games attached to it. This is a Famiclone with simulated Atari games. It shows up in clunkiness in the Atari 7800 games, and it shows up as just not being right in the 2600. Graphically, it's almost completely off on 2600 games, especially where special effects are used that are very unique to the 2600, and it loses some of the charm of those games, especially like Adventure, as you saw. All in all, I cannot recommend this for most gamers. The only time I think you might be interested in this kind of thing is if you're really interested in these specific interpretations of the games. Then, okay, it's good enough hardware, but otherwise I would stay clear of it. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in a couple days. Bye!